Okay, let's dive into 3 things you can do right now if you're struggling with your business not being able to run without you there 24/7. I just had a conversation with somebody last week, and as we were talking and I was mapping out their organization and understanding their business a little bit better, I realized what a lot of people have, and I called it out in the book. I called it CEO-itis, where just because you've hired people, you're still doing everything. Because when you're a small business owner and you start it yourself, you're wearing every hat. You're the salesperson, you're the marketing person, you're doing the operations, you're doing finance, you're doing all of it. And then as you hire people in, you don't know how to let go of control all the time. So the very first meeting that I do with companies is called the Foundation Builder. And in the Foundation Builder, really we're just setting 3 core habits up, 3 things, 3 tools, so that people can stop acting like they need to do it all themselves. Because the number one problem I see is that you're doing everything for everyone and you're not building out the organization. You don't have the structures, you don't have the systems, you don't have the framework in place to make this happen. So in the first meeting that I do with companies, we don't talk about vision. We don't talk about strategy. We just set some core habits so that people are starting out on the right foot. So what are those habits? What are those structures? So the first one that we do is the roles and responsibilities chart. If you're all by yourself, you are everything. Sorry, you've got to hustle. But once you have a team, you have to start building out the roles and responsibilities chart because you have to know what you're responsible for. If someone is hired into an organization, they have to know, what am I responsible for? And you give them the ownership to make those things happen. You say, you're responsible for these 5 key things. You need to make these things happen. It's dependent upon you for this organization to run. So the first thing we do is we break down the roles and responsibilities chart. The second thing that we do is we create the scoreboard, because once you know what you're responsible for, the scoreboard answers the question, how do I know what winning looks like? Man, I loved asking that question. I remember being on a walk with a guy that worked for me, and he was the manufacturing manager. And as we were walking, I looked at him and I said, I won't say his name, but I said, what does winning look like to you? And he stopped. He's a very thoughtful man, an engineer. And he said, that is a great question. I don't know what winning looks like for me right now, at this time, in this company, with this product. And so we had some great conversations around it. So the first one, if you know what you're responsible for, in his case, manufacturing, well, how do you know what winning looks like? And that's the scoreboard. And then the last thing of the 3 things, number 1, roles and responsibilities, know what people are responsible for. Number 2, you have to know what winning looks like. And then number 3 is putting it together in the weekly meeting so that you know how and when to escalate issues. Because if you have a problem, you have to know how to escalate it. If you don't know what you're responsible for and everything's fuzzy, well, you don't know if you're doing your job or not. And if you don't know the metrics, you don't know the scoreboard for what winning looks like, how do you know that you're doing a good job? And then if you do know your roles and your responsibilities, you know what you're responsible for, and you realize that you're not winning, how do you escalate issues? And how do you do that well? And that's where the weekly meeting comes in. And so if you are struggling with running your business without you there 24/7, here are the 3 steps to fix that right now. Number 1, build the roles and responsibilities chart so that people know what they're responsible for. Number 2, create the scoreboard so that people know what winning looks like specifically for their role. And then number 3, implement the weekly meeting so people know how and when to escalate issues to you. You do those 3 things, which is the very first thing that I do with a company in the Foundation Builder meeting. Again, we don't talk vision, we don't talk strategy. We just implement some core habits so that we have the team all knowing what they're responsible for, what winning looks like, and then how we're going to implement and take care of issues as they come up in the weekly meeting. Hope that helps.